What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week in Soviet Russia, YouTube watches you. It's Desra.
That's probably accurate. Although, actually, in this case, you're probably watching me too. Hello.
Hi.
All right, and sitting across from me is Brian Paul.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we dip into the PlayStation VR archives. We try to find an old PlayStation VR game, but when that fails and we just want to play something cool, we just play whatever we want. And then we blow the dust off of it, we discuss it, and let you know if it's worth your time. That being said, what game did we decide to talk about this week, Desra?
This week we're talking about Red Matter.
Red Matter.
Yay.
By Vertical Robot, released December 11th, 2018 for $24.99.
Yeah, and released about 6 months before that on PSVR for the Oculus Rift.
Which, I mean, let's be fair, that's not a bad conversion time.
No, that's pretty much. It sounds like they released it for PC and actually sent it to Sony at the same time. And of course, the notorious Sony certification process took 6 months. Yeah,
finally got it back.
I would not be shocked to find out that was the situation.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. That being said, Des, what kind of game is Red Matter?
It is a exploration-y puzzle game. It's an adventure game. It's walk around and do stuff.
It is a walk around and do stuff. Yeah. It is an adventure. It is a puzzle game. I'm going to take it even a step further.
Okay.
And loop it into one of my favorite new genres of game, and that is the escape room style puzzle game. Yeah. I know we're shoehorning it a bit.
Yeah, it's less. I mean, and don't think escape room isn't like you're locked in this place. You have to figure out your way out. It's you have a task to achieve, and you have to work your way through the environment to get there.
Very frequently, and the reason I put it into that category, I think, is because very frequently you're in a room, and you have to solve a puzzle, and then the door opens and you get to the next room. And you have to solve a puzzle, and the door opens and you get to the next room.
That's fair. That's fair.
And so it's presented in a much more a cohesive way than something like I Expect You to Die, which just puts you into different environments.
Right. Yeah.
This is one big cohesive environment that you're actually walking through and solving. I think something that more natural puzzles than something along the lines of any other
puzzle game you ever played. Yeah,
any other escape room game.
And that's going to be a note I'm heading for this entire review. Every aspect of this game is put together to make this place feel real and make the story and tell the story. Yeah. From the level of detail in both the design and just the actual nuts and bolts of graphical quality of the environments to how you manipulate your objects. It's all done to like really take full advantage of virtual reality and really ground you and make you believe that you are in a real place.
Yeah.
It's an alternate history or an alternate future.
Alternate future, yeah.
Yeah. Where there's the Volgravia versus the Atlantic Union, or basically the Soviet bloc, USSR versus the US, NATO.
It's exactly what it is. At the beginning of the game, you basically crash land. You're heading there. You're intending on going to this moon of Saturn, I believe.
Rhea.
There you go. And but you're being sent to investigate. They even say Soviet, don't they?
I don't know if they say Soviets specifically, but they do everything but.
Yeah. So you're being sent there on a research mission to investigate like this shady like Soviet space station and figure out what's going on there. And then you crash land, so now you're stranded there.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out some stuff.
Yeah, and I mean right off the bat, like the first thing, okay, you're visiting this moon base, and just like right off the bat, the touches of kind of reality are there. Like if you think back to, we're old enough to remember the Cold War, when you're thinking like Soviet installations, these huge, expansive things with big stars and whatnot. And why would you do that on this moon out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
To demonstrate how much power you have, and that's exactly what they have. So rather than this really sleek, small, kind of dug into the ground, you walk in and it's just these massive propaganda posters. Like, who's ever going to see this? This is a secret moon base. Does not matter, And it's the details like that that like really make the world feel real.
Yeah, it could have been very easy for them to be like, hey, we invented a language, or hey, we invented, like this alien technology.
Yeah.
But everything feels really grounded, and even the Volgravian language, it looks very Russian.
It looks very reminiscent of Cyrillic, the Russian alphabet, but it isn't. So it's nice. It's just, it's the real world just twisted a little bit.
Right. It's foreign yet familiar.
Yeah. So one thing that, another thing that adds to all of this immersion is the movement scheme.
Yes.
This is something where there's going to be the people out there who unless it has free movement, I don't even want to listen to the rest of this review.
Well, don't worry, it has free movement.
Yeah,
so full locomotion, no worries.
But its solution to the whole teleporting thing works in universe, which is great. You are an astronaut. You are on this abandoned moon base, which may or may not have any kind of power or atmosphere or gravity. So how are you going to move around? Do little jetpacks on your spaceship, on your spacesuit. So you point to a location, and you can actually hear the jets kind of going as you slowly go across the room to where you're going to land.
Yeah, it's like this. It's not. You don't point to a place and go. Phoom. That's not that kind of teleportation. Right. It is like a big moon jump.
Yeah.
And actually, if you think that's too slow, you can actually hit the face buttons to speed it up or slow it down. You can hit your triangle or any of the top face buttons, and suddenly that big long jump is it's much faster.
Right, because you're controlling the rockets.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And there are only a few points where you actually have to make jumps.
Right.
For the most part, you can navigate this whole world with full locomotion. It's not the best full locomotion I've ever used.
Yeah.
There are certain points, especially going upstairs or going up these rock sides or whatever, or even just strangely approaching things. I was walking up to this pedestal that I needed to use, and the game slowed me down as I got up to it, and I was like, just let me walk up to it, man. You don't have to slow me down. I will stop myself when I get there.
Right, but I think even then, I think this is a choice. I think it's because you're supposed to be in this big, bulky spacesuit.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're zipping around all over the place, that's going to break the immersion. And I remember someone early on in a comment saying that actually no, did we talk about it?
Maybe.
You dropped stuff and things fell so slowly because the physics were broken. It's no, the physics aren't broken. You're on a very small moon, so there is gravity,
just low gravity.
Right, and I even was practicing. There was a time where I was doing the Brian Paul test and throwing stuff.
Love throwing stuff.
And you throw stuff and it goes really fast. Why? Because you're in a low atmosphere environment. It flies fast, but then falls slow, which is exactly what should be happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I think you touched on it a little bit already, but the way you interact with this world.
Again, adding, I'll take it, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just setting you up.
So instead of just, having your hands and grabbing stuff, which, again, we've played VR games. My hands don't work like this in the real world. I have fingers and I can do small actions. Well, you don't actually directly interact with your hands. Your hands are holding these mechanical gripper claws. Mm-hmm. Which makes so much more sense. So now I am hitting a button and the claw is grabbing stuff. And I'm hitting a button and now I can pick up super heavy stuff because I've got,
little claws.
And then on the left hand or your offhand is you actually have three options. You've got the claw, you've got a flashlight, and one review I read said it's really dim and it doesn't work very well. It's just pull the trigger button.
Yeah.
And it actually turns it on. And then there's a scanner, which is your life and death, and both A, you need to use this to figure out what's going on, but B, using this to scan everything helps tell the story.
Everything. In fact, when we were describing what kind of game this was at the beginning of the episode, I really wanted to say it, but there was no reason for me to say it yet. It feels so much like an old school PC LucasArts adventure game.
Yes.
If they presented this entire game in 2D with pixel art style, with a cursor I could drag around the screen, with a bunch of verbs at the bottom, it would feel the same as the game that we're playing.
Absolutely.
Because all I'm doing is walking around with this scanner, just like the cursor in these old games, and clicking on everything, being like, what does that say? What does that say? Because it's all in Bulgavian. And so again, it's grounded in reality, but you have no idea what it says. So constantly, if you want to learn how to use that computer over there, well, there's a manual somewhere, and you got to go and scan that manual. And any sign that says anything, you just point at it and scan it. It feels very Metroid Prime-ish, but but this mechanic specifically is what makes it feel like an old school point and click adventure game, and that's very comforting to me. Because that's where I came from. Those were the games I grew up with.
I can't stress enough how every part of this game is just rock solid. The movement mechanics, your UI, the design, and the puzzles. The puzzles aren't just randomly like, oh, hit this lever and that's going to make. It's like, oh no, this is a technology that you have to figure out. Or in some cases, you have to get into the head of security's office and you have to think like he does to figure out like how he would hide a secret. And so it all makes sense. It all feels real. And here's, I guess this might be a ding or not. How easy did you find the puzzles?
So this is a tough question to answer.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, I did pretty good.
Okay.
For the most part. In any time that I like really struggled on something, I was embarrassed when it was all over when I figured it out. Because I'd be like, oh, the answer was like, oh, there it is. It's like the answer is always right in front of you somewhere. So like if you are struggling on a puzzle, don't go to YouTube and like look up an answer.
Yeah.
Just look around and scan everything or just the answer is always in front of you.
Yeah, I found the only ones I had a hard time with were ones where I overthought it.
I overthink everything all the time.
Yeah, and it was just like because I just figured like I've got all this. This must be the way it's done, and it's like no, that's actually way simpler than that. And so that's the one thing. Everything else is so great. The puzzles, I find a lot of them are pretty simple.
I'm gonna call the puzzles. I mean, for as far as I'm concerned, almost perfect because I don't. The last thing I want to do is walk into a room, know what I'm supposed to do, and not be able to do it.
Yes, it does not suffer from that problem at all.
Right. So I struggled with probably every single puzzle for a few minutes and went, got it.
Right.
And then the ones I struggled for even longer, like I said, like after I figured them out, I realized that I should have gotten them almost immediately.
Yeah. And you don't have like, well, let's go back to we talked about recently 18 floors. That problem with like, all right, I know you have something to do with what we're doing here. I'm just going to stay here and stare at you for 45 minutes until I randomly flail around and find. You can generally get a good idea of how to solve what you need to do. And so it's...
So because of that, how long did it take you to beat this game?
I mean, the developer says 3.5 to 4 hours, but I think I nailed it in like 2.5.
Oh.
Maybe.
Oh, I think 4 for me.
Really?
Well,
okay.
I got stuck on a couple longer than I cared to admit.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
This was probably the first puzzle game I haven't like had to go, get outside help with to get it done in time. Okay.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
And again, I shouldn't have had to.
Yeah.
But to move the game along, maybe I should have. But no. So anywhere between 2.5 to 4 hours apparently.
Yeah.
Which I mean, for a puzzle game, that's the kind of thing where it's like something like Escape the Room, something like 18 floors, right? Like it took us hours and hours and hours to beat certain levels. And if you know all the answers, so it all depends on like your puzzle solving acumen. If you are really, really good at solving puzzles, you can probably blast through this faster than Des did. But if you're really, really bad, expect to spend a lot of time beating this one.
But see, I think there's actually, I think you nailed the difference there. In 18 floors, you have the length of time it takes to beat that game because the puzzles are so hard. If you know the answers, you're done with each level in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But with a Red Matter, I could give you a description of, here's a printout, how to solve every puzzle. And if you do that, you're going to be missing so much because the story
Very true.
is really well done. You get a real sense for the characters, the people who lived in the station without ever meeting any of them.
Right.
You get a real sense for the relationships and the story, and you get emotionally attached to these people who you never see in any kind of videos. There's no are there any audio? Oh no, eventually there's some little, but most of the story is just told in like picking up pictures, photographs, and log entries, and not even just like, oh, I said this to this person, but it's this person is on report for doing this. And then you have to pick that up with other pieces of evidence to realize, oh, this guy has a drinking problem.
Right.
Right. There's not like, in my journal, I have a drinking problem. It's just you have to just slowly kind of piece it together.
Yeah, when you're walking through and opening lockers and just picking up different things and scanning everything, it really does. The story starts like slowly coming together, and you will miss so much because I think that's what differentiates this from a standard escape room game.
Yeah.
Like 18 floors, no one cares about the story. At all.
18 floors.
And if you know about the story, if you watched our episode 2 weeks ago,
I'm still agog.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but the story is like half of the experience here.
And that's the only other thing I take a little issue with. 90% of the story is fantastic. I'm emotionally involved. I like where it goes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it just, I don't want to spoil it. It just drops into a twist that's becoming a pretty tired trope in VR.
So you were disappointed with the story when it came to the ending. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing with this game for me is that I feel like it dishes out things in the right proportions.
Okay.
And so there were moments in this game where I was like, oh man, we're going really into the bizarre. We're going really into the Twilight Zone right now.
Yep.
And in the second I was like, this is too much. Boom, it pulls you back. And I was like, oh wow, okay. So like they gave me a little weirdness, but then they grounded me in reality again. Mm-hmm. And then like later on, they give me a little more weirdness, and they ground me in reality again. And they do the same exact thing with the humor.
Yeah, there is a fair touch of humor in here,
but it's never too much. This game never becomes a comedy, and they don't have like this narrator or this robot that follows you around.
Right. Well, and they do have these sort of AI bots who kind of communicate with you through sort of typed out cards that could have very easily turned into like a Douglas Adams, sort of like Monty Python character, which, again, I love, but would have sort of broken the immersion in this game. And they don't do that. They just kind of like, they glance off the edge of that as they're zipping by. And it's great. There's really, again, every choice, every dialogue choice, everything they've made in the design is just added to make this feel like, no, this really happened. This is a real place.
Yeah. And just to top it all off, that all comes across in the graphics too. I mean, this is a good looking game. In case you live in North America and you got this game at launch, here's what you didn't know happened before that.
Okay.
Right? Is you when this game came out in European territories, I think like a few days ahead of time.
Okay. Right, yes.
And the feedback that they got, that Vertical Robot got was hey, the anti-aliasing in this is way over the top. It gives it that firewall, like before firewall got patched, it gives that like that fuzzy look, like where everything is super smooth, and everything's just a little bit fuzzy because of it. It's like they were like that was how this game looked before. Also, it only had click turning.
Right.
And the full locomotion movement speed was kind of like on the slower side.
Yeah.
And I mean, like there's like a huge list of things, and they heard all of these responses, and they said, "We're on it."
Yeah.
And by the time it came out in North America, all of these things had been addressed, and not just like, "Hey, you didn't like the anti-aliasing, we turned it off." It's like they gave us an option to turn it off, and they gave us options for movement speed, and options for click turning, and options for everything. And as VR gamers, and as people of some people get motion sick, and some people don't, and some people want this, and some people want that. We got options for everything because that's what we want as VR gamers is options. And man, Vertical Robot gave us a ton of them.
Yeah, and just think about that. Like between the launch from the European store to the North American store, instead of just saying, "Hey, we heard that next time we do a major upgrade, we'll fix that all." It's like no, before it actually hit the store, they made sure to get those things, and not even fixed, changed.
Yeah, we Downward Spiral came out months ago.
Yeah,
and when we contacted developers, they say, "Oh yeah, don't worry, all those things that you talked about, we're looking into it."
Yeah,
months have gone by and not a single patch.
Right.
It's like, I mean, I don't know what's happening over there, but these guys are on top of it.
Yeah.
Also, just another option. This is going to support the 3D rudder when it comes out. A lot of people are looking forward to that device.
That's true. Yeah.
Now I contacted Vertical Robot and I was like, "Hey, do you guys have anything interesting to tell us behind the scenes stuff?" And they were like, and for the most part, they were like, "Well, really, we just worked really hard for a really long time." And I was like, "There's another. I don't know if you noticed that they made another game. It's a platforming VR game."
Okay.
And so immediately I was like, "Platforming VR." I was like, "This is going to be like Windlands, or this is going to be to the top.
Yeah.
Something like that's going to make somebody sick." It's called Daedalus. And
okay.
And so I was so I checked out the trailer and I was like, "Oh no, this doesn't look like it's make you motion sick at all. In fact, the movement system looks pretty familiar."
Oh, really?
And guess what? So as it turns out, Daedalus was actually a Locomotion prototype for Red Matter that they made into like a full game.
Oh, okay.
And it only took them like 2 or 3 months to make a full game out of Daedalus. It's only for for mobile VR devices.
Ooh,
Probably so like
check that out.
Daydream or Oculus Go. But it's
Oculus Go. Okay.
yeah. So it's and so I asked them if it's coming to PlayStation VR, and they were like, "Oh, we don't really know what's going on right now." But they did let me know that, and they also let me know that the entire team, 100% of them, it's a Spanish development team.
Habla Español.
That's my Des Nugget.
Okay.
I don't have anything interesting to say about that
cool.
other than
So between these guys and
bienvenidos.
Tequila Works and Invisible Hours, man, Spain is knocking it out of the park with VR games.
Speaking of Invisible Hours,
Yeah.
the people that helped make this, the people that in Vertical Robot helped make Invisible Hours.
Oh.
They also helped make the Castlevania Lords of Shadow games on the PS3.
Oh.
Which are admittedly my least favorite Castlevania games ever made. No offense. And strangely, one of my favorite military games of all time, Spec Ops: The Line. Which, man, as far as storytelling is concerned, if you've never played Spec Ops: The Line,
right,
you should go check that out.
Yes.
Obviously, whoever is involved in this is
and don't read up anything about it.
Oh, don't ruin it for yourself.
Yes.
All right, Des, are we at that point of the show?
Well, you're at that. Seriously, they work with Tequila Works?
Yeah.
Wow. Man, Spain is hopping. All right. So our rating scale is pretty easy to understand. Number 1 is yes, you need to buy this game if you have a PSVR. This is an example of the best of the best for the platform, and it should definitely be in your library. 2 is yeah, sure. If it's a genre you particularly like, or if it's on sale at a decent price, go ahead, pick it up. 3 is no. Friends don't let friends buy crap. We need to vote with our wallets and let developers know that we deserve better. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think?
Well, I gotta say, I'm trying to think of negative things about this game.
Okay.
I'm trying to come up with a reason that somebody shouldn't
Maybe the price.
play this game. It's $25.
Yeah.
It is admittedly on the shorter side if you're really good at this. But I think while you're playing it, there's never really much downtime. It is the entire time you're playing it, you feel just like totally immersed in this world. There are moments where you're like, oh, is this going to get scary? And you're like, no, it just walks that nice fine line where it's like it's unsettling and it's strange, but never gets scary, just questionable.
Yeah.
And I really like that line. It also, you should probably know there's no combat in this game. There's no like action. There's no like nothing like that.
Yep.
So keep that in mind if this is something that you're considering. But man, for this style of game, you know, I talk about 18 rooms or 18 floors and how much I love that game, despite all of its problems. This is a game I love, and it doesn't have any problems.
Yeah.
And that's why, with no hesitation whatsoever, I need to give this a 1, because this is like this. Graphically, this is like right up there with some of the best of the best. Just the amount of options they've given us for locomotion and for control, and just the immersion that they've managed to succeed in creating, and they've made me really want to read as much as possible in a game for the first time in a long time. And they don't overdo it with like voiceovers or anything crazy like that. Man, I just if there was a Red Matter 2 tomorrow, I'm like I'd be all about it. This is a 1. This is a game that that maybe even if you're not into like puzzle games, maybe you should be checking out as your first puzzle game. This and Static, let's be fair.
That's
yeah. So this is one of those that transcends taste. You know, like, oh, I don't happen to like puzzle games. I happen to think you should give this a shot no matter what.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like you said, that line between creepiness, I made it clear I don't like straight up horror games, but I love the tone of things like this. The tones where it is Twilight Zone-y. It's spooky and weird, but it's not bloody monster coming out of the corner and like that. Who cares? But this is just like, you don't really know where the line between real and fantasy is, and it does that great. Honestly, this game makes me want to retroactively demote 18 floors.
Down to a 3.
Well, because
you already gave it a pretty weak 2.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I was like, oh, this is good, but it has these massive flaws. Yeah. This is good, and it doesn't have any of those flaws. Yeah. It doesn't have any UI. There's no massive bugs. There's no game-breaking things. You pick something up, and it comes up, and you can put it down, and it stays there. It's just every single part of this is.
You pick something up, you put it down, and it stays there.
Yeah.
until VR, it's never really been an issue. But
Right.
but yeah, things disappear far too frequently.
Exactly, yeah. I
Falling
put
to
this
the
down
floor.
here and it just fell through that thing, and now I can't get to it. We didn't even mention the whole, I don't know, what you want to call it, the tractor beam thing. They solved the problem of, oh crap, I dropped that. You can point at stuff and kind of like a beam comes out and zips to your hand, sort of like Jedi mind trick stuff.
Yeah, and also you can turn that off.
Right, yeah. It's like, oh, that's too
It's an
easy
option.
and game breaking. Yeah, you can turn it off.
Right, there's so many options in this
Yeah,
game.
if I haven't made it clear, this is a 1.
Yeah.
This is a 1. And for those of you who are like, oh, $25 for 3 hours, I feel very similar to like the way I feel about Moss.
Yeah.
This is, it's not as like beautiful in the way Moss is, but it is so well crafted and done. These folks deserve your money.
Yeah.
They put a ton of hard work into this, and every bit of it shows. And I think, our 3 is, no, we need to tell these developers we need to do better. I think a 1 is also, no, we really need to reward these developers for doing a fantastic job. So I wouldn't even say, like, if it's on sale, no, you know what? Give these guys full price. Heck yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it all. And it's so funny when we have to talk about a game that we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's so much more difficult.
It is.
Like when everything about a game feels polished and feels solid and they do everything right.
There may be one negative.
What's the negative?
There's no replayability. Not really.
So I went back in today, right? Because I mean, obviously, I already played through the entire game and beat it for review.
Yeah.
And there I was standing at the very first scene, the crash site, and I just played this like a month ago.
Yeah.
Like a
Not
month
even
ago.
a month ago. Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, like here I am. I want to do this again. I know that means something different than replayability. It's not like, oh, I'm going to play through this again and there's going to be different puzzle solutions.
Yes.
But man, the second I started playing it again, I was like, I just kind of want to run through the whole game all over again. And so I know that's not replayability, but the fact that I wanted to do it again, I mean, it's going to be called something.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and it's also too like interacting with the puzzles is so physically satisfying. There are things that you have to use both hands on and actually like
twist and turn,
move, but I don't know what the special sauce is. Like it feels like there's some valves you have to like pop it up out of the thing and then turn it, and just the speed they make it go at, and if you push too hard, your hands slip off of it because you have these metal claws. It's it's very satisfying to just be in that world.
I didn't ask. Did you get motion sickness from? Did you use much full locomotion?
I didn't. I did a little bit. Like I would kind of land myself in front of a console. I'm not quite there, and just kind of scoot myself side to side. Yeah. But I liked. And it wasn't even just I'm worried about getting sick. I just liked the feel of the locomotion. It works so well in that world to be like, no, I'm an astronaut in a spacesuit, and I'm going to kind of jet from place to place. It just
I'm a guy that 100% all the time does full locomotion, smooth turning, and I want to move around the environment as fast as possible, and I want to be able to do my thing. I preferred the teleport mechanic in this game. I love the feeling, and I do it as fast as possible. I hold the triangle button every single time I did a leap, but that's how I got around this world, and I really enjoyed that.
And one last thing I want to throw in the positive columns, because there aren't enough things in that. How much backtracking did you do? Like, get the thing, walk back here, get the thing, walk back here. There's almost none of that in this game.
No.
Every time you solve a puzzle, you're going to a new environment and you're moving through, which is
they really could have reused a lot of
loading
this game.
human.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if they wanted to stretch this out, and they could have made it twice as long and made you do a lot of backtracking, but they didn't. Every moment of this game feels fresh and new and something different. And every single time you walk into a new room, you're like, it's refreshing. It's like, okay, I just spent like the last 20 minutes in that room trying to figure out some puzzles, and here I am. It's someplace brand new.
And another example of this, like, you get into the habitat section at one point, and everyone's bedroom looks different. Because people are different and they decorate their places differently, and it's touches like that, which is just
man. And I think the impatient could learn a lesson from chessboards. This one does it well. What did you think about Red Matter? Did you like it? Do you love it? Is it a 1 for you as well? Also, what other games do you want us to talk about? The list is never ending.
No, which is awesome.
Yeah,
It's good. And it gets bigger and bigger every day.
Actually, that is a problem. There are more games coming out every week than we have time for.
Well, that's a problem for reviews. That's not a problem for this episode because we're just dedicated to one episode a week.
That's very true. Until you start doing this full time, and then there'll be 2 of these every week. Is that something you want? Is that something we have time for? I have no idea. For another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR.
Had a mild panic attack there.
I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.